I definitely resonate with that feeling, and I've definitely been in that situation before. And yeah, it sucks. You know you want to make a change, but you don't know where to go or what to do. Welcome to episode 82 of Working Towards Our Purpose. Thank you for being here. In today's episode, we are going to talk about wanting to leave your job, but feeling lost and not knowing where to go. But before we get into that, we are going to take a moment, check in with ourselves, see where we're at, see how we're feeling today. Yeah, for me, I'm feeling a little more calmer now. Was definitely having like over anxious mind, lots of thoughts. I was doing before I recorded this episode. I did my strategy that I talked about in last week's podcast episode of just brain dumping everything to try to get a little bit more focused and a little bit more calm about what I'm doing. And it helped. So. But other than that, feeling pretty good. We just got a bunch of snow where I live, so that's cool. If you like snow, I guess. But yeah, so today I want to talk about wanting to leave your job, but feeling lost and not knowing where to go. And this episode is inspired by someone who commented on one of my videos on YouTube. His name is @CurryPablo, and he made a comment, and I wanted to respond in more than just like a couple sentences. So here we go. We have a whole episode about it. So the comment was in relation to like leaving a corporate job and just not really knowing where to go from there, not knowing where to turn and just feeling lost. And I definitely resonate with that feeling, and I've definitely been in that situation before. And yeah, it sucks. You know you want to make a change, but you don't know where to go or what to do. And hopefully in today's episode, I have 3 strategies to help you find your path towards the end of this. But first, I want to like sort of dig into that feeling of why like we feel lost in these situations, and hopefully sort of validate that feeling, because I think it's real, and I think that a lot of us feel that. And it makes you feel like you're alone feeling like that. You look around and you think everybody else sort of has it figured out, and you're like, what am I doing? I don't know where to go. I don't know what I want. I just know that I don't want this. And I think the biggest thing to notice there is that first off, it's okay to not have it all figured out. You're not supposed to. It takes time to figure out what you want to do with your life and where you want to go. And I think like just having the willingness to try to find that is huge. And maybe you feel lost and you don't know where to go, but you do know one thing. You do know that you don't want to do what you're currently doing. And I think that that's something to be proud of, and to know that you want to make a change, because that's the first step in making change, is knowing that you want it. And it's almost the hardest part. So I think that's really good news. And also just like, how do you get there? Because I remember for me, like feeling like, how did I get here? Like I went through high school, I went to college, I did 4 years in college, and then I went into this industry, and I was there for like 4 or 5, 6 years before I knew it. And I was like, how did I get here? I don't this isn't what I want to do at all. This, I don't feel like I'm contributing in the way that I want to be. I feel like I could be doing more. And I think it's just so normal, because it's just kind of the way that our society is structured, is like you go to high school, you pick a job, you pick something to do, you pick a major in college, and you have to pick something, like whatever the school offers. There's like, I don't know, probably like 20 or 30 different majors that are all kind of vaguely in like 3 or 4 different schools. And like, you just feel like time's running out and you got to pick something. So, and a lot of times too, maybe you go to college and it wasn't what you wanted, but you're trying to please somebody else, or trying to make a parent happy, or just thinking that, for me, it was like, I didn't have any other answer. So I guess I'll go to college and figure it out. Which, I maybe would have thoughts on now, um, but yeah. So I think, from going to school in elementary and just like having to do things the way the teacher says, and like then going to college and following a curriculum, and then getting a job and doing what your boss wants you to do, you never really like check in with yourself and see what you want to do. And that's not to like blame the system or blame other people. And, um, I think at some point you do have to like take a little bit of personal responsibility and think about like what it is that you want and decide that you want to change the course in your life. But it is hard because there's just so many outside influences trying to convince you what to do. And that, not even to mention like social media and all the stuff that's on there saying that you should do this, or, if you want to start a business, you have to go sell crap on Amazon, and like, so many different things. So I think really just like honing in back onto ourselves and seeing what it is that we want to do, because there's a million different paths and a million different options, but we really have to think about what it is that we want. And if I think back to myself, it's so hard to give yourself the time to do that, because it always just seems like a waste of time. Like, taking a year between college and high school, or like getting a job that's, in the restaurant industry to give yourself some time to figure out what you want to do before going to college. Like, I don't know. It's always like not incentivized. Me personally, I always felt like I never had the time. I had to make a decision now, and I never had the time to go and ask myself what I liked and what I wanted to do, and what I had like passion in, and how I wanted to impact the world. So yeah, just taking a moment, I think is maybe the first step, and just like really giving yourself some time. And I didn't really write that in my notes here, but as I'm reflecting and how I felt back then, I think that's the biggest thing, is just like giving yourself some time, and being patient. So, yeah. And then I also want to say, like, it is possible to make a change, feeling lost and feeling stuck in a job. It is possible to make a change. It will take time and it will take effort, but consistent effort over time is how you make a change in your life. And I know that's simplistic, but I say that to say, like, it is possible. And it was possible for me. I felt like leaving my corporate job was this huge thing that I didn't know if I'd get to. And, I was fortunate through a series of events that I found myself there, and through really wanting it bad enough, I was able to get out of that lifestyle, to get out of the corporate lifestyle. And yeah, forever grateful of that. But yeah, it is possible. And I think that what we need to do is we need to like recalibrate the way that our minds work. Instead of thinking about like, what does my boss want, or what does society want? What does my parents want? Thinking about what is it that you want to do? And, if you find yourself in the situation of trying to figure out what you want, but you're lost, I think really thinking about your own goals and recalibrating your compass to be like, okay, I've been thinking about what other people want, but now I have to think about what I want, what's important to me, what are my values, and then we can kind of go forward from there. But another thing I want to touch on too is the issue of money, because in this comment, I thought it was not strange, but I thought it was interesting that the person that commented was like, money's not an issue, I just don't know what to do. And I think money is always such a touchy subject. And, for me, I was afraid of not having enough money. I was afraid of leaving and not having enough money. So I just like stocked it away, and I had a good paying job. I was an engineer. So, I made more than I was spending. So I would put some away, and I was like saving for years for this eventual escape. And I think I want to question one thing. Like, I think the idea or the thought came to me that like, I think a lot of people hyperfixate on like money. And I know that we all need money. I get that. But I think we use it as a scapegoat to not make ourselves uncomfortable, because when you don't have a 9 to 5 and you're not getting a paycheck every week, you're going into uncertainty. You don't know what the next step is. If you quit your corporate job, maybe you don't know what the next step is. And I think scapegoating money is like, oh, well, I need to make money, so I can't leave. Like, that's true. But also, are you afraid of the unknown. And of course you are, like we all are. But that's okay. Like, I think acknowledging of being afraid of the unknown and not just using money as like the quick scapegoat is like, oh, it's going to be, I got to make money, so then I can't do it. And you kind of just shut yourself off and you don't think about, well, what are my options? Like, if I do put some money away and I do save for a little bit and I have 6 months or a year where I can, get by, or I can find another job where I can cover my expenses, it gives you more options. And I think that, at least for me, I was quick to say like, oh, well, I can't quit because I need money. I don't have money. And it wasn't until I quit that I realized like how I could get by with such little. And I'm not saying that's for everyone, but it's interesting how like I think about how much I made back then, and this was 5-6 years ago, so it probably wasn't even that much, but yeah, I was making like, I think $73,000 or $74,000 a year, which is really, I guess, not that much right now, but to me that's like kind of a lot. And this is my own opinion, but I think we can get by with not as much as we think we need. And it's also been ingrained into us, this scarcity mindset around money, that like it's always going to leave and we're never going to have enough of it. So we have to just pile it away in the bank and let the banks make tons of money off of, what's sitting there, so we can have a security and a safety net. And so, all right, enough down that rabbit hole, but, yeah, I just wanted to touch on the idea of money, because I think, to get back to the subject, that the reason a lot of people feel like they can't make a change and they're stuck is because of the money issue. And I would just encourage and ask the question, like, is it the money issue or is it the fear of the unknown? And if it is the fear of the unknown, that's okay, because it's normal to fear the unknown, but it doesn't mean that it can stop your actions. Like, you can still proceed forward with feeling afraid of the unknown. So hopefully that made sense. I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole of money, but I also didn't want to avoid the topic. So, all right. So let's, before we get into the 3 steps, I want to do a quick little story that I think helps paint the picture of like, how you can feel stuck, or how it feels to try to make this change. So I was in my corporate job. I was kind of in the same position I think that this person commenting was. And I was in my corporate job and I was like, I don't know what to do. I was doing a lot of like entrepreneur research. I thought that I wanted to have a business. So that was like kind of my first inkling, but I didn't really know what to do. At the time, I looked at myself and I was like, okay, I went to school for engineering. I don't want to be in engineering at all. So it's not going to be in that. And I was like, well, what else can I do? At the time, I knew how to do audio engineering, and I've always loved music, but I felt that I wasn't good enough at audio engineering to pursue music. And I also gave myself the excuse that like, there's no money in music. So I found this guy online, Graham Cochran, and he was teaching business, teaching you how to like run an online business and start a business in something that you're passionate in, or something that you enjoy. And I really resonated with him. He still teaches, so you can go look him up. And he gave you this one exercise, and he was like, if you don't know where to start, get out a piece of paper and just write the things that you like down, and like the possibilities of what you could do down. So like, if you have this skill, write it down. If you have ever had somebody ask you about something that you have knowledge in, like write that down. And then I think he said something else, like also write down like things that you enjoy, things that you like spend your time in, regardless of if you have to or not. Like, if it's like sports or whatever, just write everything down on a piece of paper. And then at the end of that, review it and look at them and think like, well, which one of these can maybe provide a path for a job or maybe a business, and circle those things. And so I did this task, but I remember before I started it, I already had an answer in my head, and I knew that I knew how to do audio engineering. I didn't feel confident enough to pursue music with it. So I thought to myself, I had this one day in the car listening to a podcast, and I was like, oh, I'll do podcast audio editing because that's super easy. It's just a vocal take, and I feel confident enough to do that. So I went out and I started a business around that. But as I was doing this exercise, I already had the idea in my head. So I wrote this whole list that he told me to do, but I put podcast editing at the top. Of course, I circled it. And then I just went with that and didn't really take anything else more seriously. And I bring this up because I think it's a perfect example of me being afraid of the unknown. So I thought about leaving my job. I found this one thing that I could possibly do. And I was like, okay, podcast editing. Now I don't have to fear the unknown anymore because I'm just going to go straight forward to podcast editing. And I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to push forward in that direction. But if I were to take a second and to look at the list, there was probably a lot of things on those lists that said something about music or, being a musician or, something more music related, because that's always been the thing that like I've come back to is music is what's important in my life and what I'm passionate about and feel purposeful in. And I didn't allow myself to do that because I wanted to have an answer and I wanted to have like a direction going forward. So I just picked podcast editing. I didn't really do the exercise that Graham asked us to do. And I just moved forward towards that direction for many years afterwards. And that business ended up not really working out. So it's kind of like maybe a side business for me now. But yeah, years later, I found out I was like, I don't really, podcasts are cool, and it's a cool industry and it worked for a little bit of time because it was way better than the engineering career. But when it got hard, I was like, oh man, I really actually don't care about this as much as I thought that I did. And so that was a hard lesson that I learned because I took that path because I didn't want to fear the unknown. I didn't want to look at the unknown in the eyes, and I just went down that path. So yeah, that brings me to my 3 steps. I just wanted to tell that story because I think it just shows like how afraid of the unknown I was. So you're not alone out there if you're afraid of the unknown. But instead of doing what I did, instead of, just picking the first thing that comes to your mind and running with it, take some time to think about what you could do, to dream, to imagine like what the possibilities are. So my first step here in the 3 strategies towards finding your own authentic path is to recreate this exercise that Graham told me to do when I was looking this up years ago. And just make a list of all of the things that you enjoy, make a list of the things that people have asked you about, make a list of even the jobs or the skills that maybe you had some, job in a restaurant and you know how to cook or you know how to food prep, whatever it is, just list everything on a piece of paper. And the main thing that I think could be helpful to me is, maybe if I'm using Graham's exercise of making this list with a caveat. And I think the caveat is to pay attention to yourself as you're writing this list down. And anything that like stands out a little bit and makes you get excited, really pay attention to that. Anything like you feel something in your stomach maybe, or you feel some more energy coming in, or you start to smile a little bit, or like you start to fantasize about like, oh wow, that would be really cool if I could do that. Pay attention to those things because I think that's the most important thing. And that's the thing that I ignored. When I was creating this list, I didn't pay attention to like how I felt about the things that I was writing because I already had the answer in my head. So when you're making this list, try to go into it as open-minded as possible and to just like list everything out that you can think of, anything that you've ever liked, even if you like sports, write down that you really like hockey or baseball. We all have these like things that we're really good at. For me, like I know a lot of like just random data on like bands that I like because I love researching and like seeing who's in bands and seeing, when they got a new guitar player and this, like I just have a bunch of random information that like write that down. That's something I should write down. So yeah, go into it and maybe maybe it's helpful. You could go to like a coffee shop and like set yourself an hour or 2 hours and just give yourself the time to dedicate to figuring out what you like and what you want. And so the second strategy you can use is finding support. And for me, I've talked about this before. When I first was thinking about a business and I hadn't left my corporate job yet, I found this one guy His name is Don, and we were accountability buddies to each other. We went to this business course, and there was a lot of people like talking about businesses, but we found each other, and we were like, we don't want to keep talking about business. We want to like make a business. We want to start something. So from that first meeting, we met for like 3 years every week, just trying to keep each other accountable and encouraging and inspiring each other to like that we weren't crazy at this corporate job. Because I think that's one thing that like really bothered me was like in the corporate setting, like everybody's just yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And like, nobody's asking questions. Nobody's like, what are we doing here? This is crazy. So it was nice to have this person who I could be like, man, this happened in corporate today. Can you believe it? Like I can't believe this thing happened, or I can't believe they're making me do this. So it was really nice to have like somebody who you could empathize, somebody who you could, just vent to really. That was helpful. Another way you can try to find support is through groups or online communities. There's lots of there's tons of stuff online. You can find whatever you're into. Maybe, if you are into entrepreneurship, there's so many different entrepreneur groups online, newcoming entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, mompreneurs. There's so many different categories and classifications. I'm more of an in-person person myself. For example, if you're into music in my city, we have this monthly songwriters group, and a local artist puts on this thing once a month where we all get together as songwriters and we come in community and we share, we encourage each other to play, we encourage each other to find our voices. It's a really beautiful group. And there's things like that out there that you can find. And, there's lots of writers groups out there for authors or not wannabe authors, but I don't know what the word is before you write a book. But you know what I mean? So go and try to find a group out there that can be supportive. Accountability buddy is great. And I think the biggest thing is to just find people that let you be yourself. Because that was the biggest thing for me in corporate was I just didn't really feel like I could be my authentic self. I didn't know what my authentic self was because I was so used to being in that type of setting where I was just trying to fit in. So try to find people that, you could be weird with. Like maybe you have some friends who you can really like be yourself with. Like, I think it's important to spend time around those types of people, people who encourage you to be yourself, because that's how we get unlost. That's how we sort of, reset our compass, is by finding out like the things that are unique to us and, what makes us unique. So I think those things are really to be encouraged at this time of trying to find and become unlost. I don't know if that's a word, but okay. So now the third step the third strategy is to actually make a step. And I think that this one's really important because it's so easy to plan stuff and to think about stuff and to never take an action. And I think taking an action is what drives you forward. Momentum is super important. And I think it's the hardest thing to take the first step and to move in a direction that's away from where you're at currently. So whatever you can do to take a step, I think is crucial. And trying and whatever, it doesn't have to be big. It can be a small step. It could be the smallest step ever. Maybe if you want to take photography seriously because it's something that you really like go get a camera, invest in yourself to go down that path. Maybe you could volunteer somewhere. If you're really into animals, you can volunteer at any animal shelter and just move in that direction, move towards where you want to be. And you don't have to have it all figured out, but just moving in a direction that you find excitement in and something that like lights you up inside. That's where you want to try to follow. And even if you don't know anything, like the easiest thing I can think of is like go and buy a planner. And if you're a planner type of person, I'm super analytical, so I love planners. But like for me, I would go get a planner and I would like carve out time around my corporate job where I could try to devote time to this new direction that I'm going. And I would just brainstorm. If I don't know what it is, just like set 30 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day and just brainstorm ideas. Like, what could I do? Just give yourself time to dream and imagine like how you want to impact the world in a positive way and what you want to do with your life, and to give yourself that time that I never did. Just, give yourself the time to think about where you want to go and what you want to do. So that could be the simplest step, or even just getting a notebook or using a notebook that you have. But I think it's really important to take a step, whatever feels slightly uncomfortable, but still gets you to do it, I think is where you want to go. So those are the 3 steps. Make that list of everything that you're interested in and you can possibly do. Find support, and then take a small step. And that's 3 strategies of finding your authentic path and changing directions from being in a corporate job or a job that, or an industry or a career that you don't want to be in. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you followed me there a little bit. I think my thoughts are still a little all over the place, but that's okay. The last thing I want to say too is to have patience, because I talked about giving yourself time and space, and nothing happens overnight. Like Instagram and social media makes you think that like people are overnight success. They're not. And, if you stumble into that, that's cool, but nothing that's like worth anything. Okay. I'm not going to say that. But yeah, just to have patience, because things move slowly sometimes, but by having patience and trying to feel comfortable and not having it all figured out, I think those are probably the 2 biggest things that I needed to hear back when I was trying to make this change. So I do want to say that. And yeah, also be kind to yourself. You beat yourself up so much for not having it figured out, and try to be kind to yourself. And that leads me into my lead magnet that I have out there. It's a free PDF guide that is structured in 7 days, and it gives you like a 30-minute journal prompt and some writing and reading that will try to help you be more kind to yourself. And it's free. You just click the link in the description. I'm actually still working on it and adjusting it a bit. So I'm messing with the title, so I don't really have the total title right now. It's like being kinder to yourself / inner critic / that sort of genre. So I still don't have it all figured out, and that's okay, because I'm working on it and I'm making it better, and hopefully it's better for the people that download it. So anyways, I'll end it here, and thank you for listening, and thank you, Curry Pablo, for making a comment and inspiring this episode, and hopefully it was helpful. But I'll see you all on another episode real soon. Take care.